Gun control is a highly debated and controversial issue that elicits strong emotions on both sides. Those in favor of stricter gun control measures often argue that it is necessary to prevent gun violence and ensure public safety. They point to the alarming rate of mass shootings and the devastating consequences they have on communities. These proponents argue that by implementing stricter regulations, such as background checks, waiting periods, and bans on assault weapons, we can reduce the number of firearms in the hands of criminals and potentially save lives. They believe that the Second Amendment, which guarantees the right to bear arms, should be interpreted in a way that allows for reasonable restrictions on gun ownership. On the other side of the debate, opponents of gun control argue that it infringes on their constitutional rights and fails to address the underlying issues behind gun violence. They emphasize the importance of the Second Amendment as a fundamental right that protects individuals' ability to defend themselves, their families, and their property. These individuals believe that responsible gun ownership and education are key to preventing tragic incidents. They argue that criminals will always find ways to obtain firearms, regardless of the regulations in place, and that law-abiding citizens should not be punished for actions of a few. They also highlight the potential for government overreach and the erosion of personal liberties if stricter gun control measures are introduced. One of the primary concerns raised by proponents of stricter gun control is the frequency of mass shootings and their devastating impact on communities. They argue that by limiting access to firearms, particularly those with high-capacity magazines and rapid-fire capabilities, we can significantly reduce the lethality of these attacks. They propose implementing comprehensive background checks to prevent individuals with violent tendencies or criminal histories from obtaining guns legally. Additionally, advocates for stricter gun control often point to other developed countries with more stringent regulations, where the rates of gun-related violence are significantly lower. They believe that by emulating these policies, we can create a safer society for all. Opponents of stricter gun control often argue that such measures unfairly penalize law-abiding citizens and do not effectively address the root causes of gun violence. They assert that by focusing on mental health support, addressing socioeconomic disparities, and improving the education system, we can create a safer environment without impinging on personal liberties. They contend that an armed populace acts as a deterrent against criminals, highlighting examples of individuals who have used firearms to protect themselves and others. These individuals often stress the need for better enforcement of existing laws and improving access to mental health resources, rather than introducing additional regulations. Another point of contention in the gun control debate centers around the interpretation of the Second Amendment. Proponents of stricter regulations argue that the historical context of the amendment should be considered, as it was written in a time when muskets were the primary firearms available. They assert that the Founding Fathers could not have envisioned the advanced weaponry available today, and therefore, reasonable restrictions should be imposed. Conversely, opponents argue that the intent of the Second Amendment was to ensure that citizens could protect themselves from both criminals and potential tyrannical during any countries. They emphasize the importance of individual liberties and the potential dangers of granting the government excessive power to restrict gun ownership. While there are valid arguments on both sides of the gun control debate, finding common ground and working towards solutions that prioritize public safety and preserving individual rights remains a challenge. It is crucial to engage in open and respectful dialogue, considering various perspectives and weighing the benefits and drawbacks of different policy approaches. By promoting gun safety education, addressing mental health issues, and exploring innovative technologies, we can strive towards a society that minimizes gun violence while respecting the fundamental rights of its citizens.